fare thee well. Give back the pieces of my Jesus. Take the counterfeit to hell. Bang the drums, this means war, not the kind you're waiting for. We say mercy won't be rationed here. That's what we're fighting for. And loving war, and what the hell is loving even for? We can't sing it loud enough, but keep on adding voices up. Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell. Move your feet, you tiny people. You've been hiding for so long behind your statues and your steeples. Does that hit you close to home? Well, I got faith to move a mountain and to watch that mountain move. It's time for words to fall like thunder. Sound of justice breaking through. Falling fair and loving more than what the hell is loving even for? The world laughs and the martyrs sing, but love breaks through the Calvary. Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell. You call me boy instead of son, and I ain't the only one. Was in the throne room of a kingdom where I found that I belong. And I ain't scared to face the fortress. I have seen them all before. With broken bones you have built it, but they crumble board by board. What the hell is loving even for? Oh, we can't sing it loud enough, but keep on adding voices up. Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell. This time I mean it. Bid that hatred fare thee well. Give back the pieces of my Jesus. Take your counterfeit to hell. Good morning, everybody. We're so glad you're here with us this morning. And for those of us joining online, we're so happy you tuned in. We're excited to spend some time together in this safe place where all of you are welcome just as you are. Feel free to stand now and sing with us.
We are leaving crumbling buildings full of dust and full of judgment. We are leaving violent teaching from those who refuse to learn from the best of us. We are leaving crumbling buildings full of dust and full of judgment. We are leaving violent teaching from those who refuse to learn from the best of us. We are leaving crumbling buildings full of dust and full of judgment. We are leaving violent teachings from those who refuse to learn from the best of us.
healing, full of hope and full of justice. And I've got a feeling that we're in the middle of it. I've got a feeling she'll see us to the end of it. We are seeking a holy healing, full of hope and full of justice. I've got a feeling that we're in the middle of it. I've got a feeling she'll see us to the end of it. We are seeking a holy healing, full of hope and full of justice. I've got a feeling that we're in the middle of it. I've got a feeling she'll see us to the end of it. We are seeking a holy healing, full of hope and it's full of justice. I've got a feeling that we're in the middle of it. I've got a feeling she'll see us to the end of it. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us in that song. It's a fun one. We're going to have you do the favorite thing that introverts get to do is say hi to everyone around you or just go to the bathroom, either way. But we'll let you know when to come back and sing some more.
Look at that. I kind of shamed everyone last week that everyone was still chatting when the timer ran out. And it looks like y'all were listening. Good job. Well, welcome. My name is David. I'm one of the pastors here at Watershed. Thank you for joining us on what Brad Panovich says is going to be the hottest day ever in Charlotte. And I just kind of believe anything that guy says. So, but yeah, I suppose this is a cooler alternative than what else you could have done this morning. We'll take it. A couple quick things. I don't want to belabor announcements this morning. Everything that There is to know that going on at Watershed can be found on our Connect and Learn page on our website or through our Watershed app. There's a little video on the screen right now showing you how to get to the Connect and Learn page. Or the QR code that'll be on the screen in the moment will take you directly there. You can fill out a connection card. Rumor has it there's quite a few new folks this morning, and so that is a sort of low-key, low-pressure way to let us know that you were here. You'll hear from one of our pastoral team. You can tell us how you found us and ask any questions you like through that, and then anything else going on. So the Derek Webb concert in a few weeks on the Connect and Learn page. Any sort of like weekly gathering. So today, our Kindred group is going to Petty Thieves following the service. Don't forget that, but you'll find that on the Connect and Learn page. We are halfway. This is a good thing, but also sort of an exhortation sort of thing. We're halfway to our goal of 100 people joining us for the Pride Parade. So we need the other half. So again, you can find all of that on the Connect and Learn page. The Enneagram and Spirituality event that Kim, where's Kim? There she is putting on in a few weeks is on there, so go to the Connect and Learn page. One new thing that is also on our website that we will show you a little video of is we have a facility rental page. So if you are looking to do a slam poetry event, if you are looking to do a wedding, if you are looking to do silent disco, if you have shareholders whose value you are attempting to increase, you could have a corporate mixer here. We will gladly take that corporate money. But no, in all seriousness, we are always looking for just creative ways to continue to fund the work here. The majority of our funding comes through generosity, as with many nonprofits and churches. But this is just another avenue, hopefully, for us to continue to sort of expand the scope of what we do here. And so we would appreciate you passing that around if you think of anyone. And now I want to shift gears a little bit. We have a special guest this morning. You'll get to hear a lot from her when we get to the sermon message sort of talk portion of the morning. But before that, I want to invite my friend Carrie up. Carrie Ladisor. Many of you have seen her before. This is Carrie. You can welcome her. Carrie, you are the executive director of the Post-Evangelical Collective. Which is kind of the closest thing we as Watershed have to a denomination or a network. There are other similar, like-minded, in many ways very different. You know, it's a diversity of communities and churches and faith leaders, and we even have some influencers. Yeah. But Carrie is our fearless leader. So we're just going to take a few minutes and get some updates from Carrie about the PEC. So question number one, Carrie. What kind of through the lens of the Post-Evangelical Collective, what is giving you hope right now?
What we have considered, can you hear me okay? Is that me? Oh, there we go. Thank you. We've considered the Post-Evangelical Collective like what we call an ecosystem of pastors, artists, leaders, churches that are trying to reimagine the way of Jesus in our time. So one of the things that's giving me hope is, one, how many churches there are doing that. Two, that we're not just trying to sort of reorient around some of the same systems or structures or even paradigms. So it would be tempting in a space like this to say we're going to reorient around like new belief statements. And I want to tell you how many of the men helping to start this were like, you need a theological belief statement. You need a statement of faith. We have to define these things. And I just kept kind of pushing on that with my indigenous sensibilities, saying, actually, you can tell what we believe by how we behave. So what if we were to orient around a set of shared values, which really then allows a ton of diversity, the unique, distinct expression of each of these churches, the contextualization within the community within which they're located of these churches. Some of them are kind of mainline affiliated churches, but are saying, oh, there's some kind of spiritual revitalization. We've had these values, but we're drawn to this kind of what feels like a move. There's a lot giving me hope about the diversity, about kind of the new wineskins. I know you guys talked about that recently, but trying to identify some new wineskins and new ways of orienting. Those are a couple. I could give you a lot more.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I love it. And if you're curious, I mean, you can go to the Post-Evangelical website. You can see those values. And obviously, if you're in Charlotte, we'd love to see you here. But there's also a church finder section of the website.
Yeah.
So if you're traveling abroad, or if you have friends or family who know about Watershed and they go, oh, I wish there was a church or a community like that where I am, there may be, and they just might not know about it yet. So,
Yeah, totally.
what about celebrations? Is there anything that you're celebrating right now?
Yes, I mean, several things. There's a growing movement of churches sort of joining the post-evangelical collective that are a part of the collective. So we have like 130 churches now around the world that are up there. We had 75,000 people go to the website looking for a post-evangelical collective church, which gives me like a lot of hope that there are other people longing for a more like liberative Christian spirituality than what many of us have come from or experienced. 16 million people have walked away from the evangelical church since 2016, so that 75,000 of them are even open to the things of God after whatever their deconstruction experience was. That gives me a whole lot of hope. So celebrating a lot of that.
For sure. And then, I guess maybe last thing, let's bring it down kind of concretely to the next 6 to 12 months or so. Like, what are some things coming up, for, by, or through the PEC that are energizing you or just that you're working on?
Yeah. Okay, this one will take the longest, but I want to give you a couple of them. One of them is that we have realized this is a place of connection. We've done some like kind of data research stuff with the pastors, artists, leaders that are showing up to this space. Many of them feel disconnected. Many of them have been exiled at some point or another, so they need connection. They need a space of healing to kind of mine through the stories of wreckage or deconstruction, whatever that looks like. And then I think through that work to cultivate a new imagination. So we're trying to center practitioners over the next 6 to 12 months that are sort of inhabiting or embodying that new imagination so that we can lift up places that are already trying to live into these values and reconstruct, if you will, like have the imagination to reconstruct instead of just deconstruct. Through that sort of connection piece, we knew we needed some regional expressions so that people could meet together, contextualize, dive into the values, know one another, sit across the table and hear stories, as well as perhaps organize together, around things that communities or states are facing. What's happening in Boston feels really different than LA or Texas or Portland right now. And so wanting to like decentralize and empower local leaders. David is leading our North Carolina region, which I'm very excited about. Yes. Woo, woo, woo. Very excited about. So we have a national conference next year. It's sold out the last few years. We have some capacity to grow next year, but I'm thrilled about even how many people are showing up to this space. We like to call them, if you're a Bible nerd, like the Nicodemus in the night kind of people, the evangelical pastors, people that are stuck in that old paradigm, but that have been wrestling with the implications of it. And they are showing up knowing like I could get fired. They have said, if you take my picture at the conference, I could lose my job. Like that level of risk, but they're longing for something different, for something more robust, for something more aligned with the ways of Jesus. So that over the next 6 to 12 months, I'm hoping we build organizational capacity, especially through these regionals, to be able to engage more of those folks because they're showing up. And I think as this old system sort of crumbles and dismantles, more and more people, I'm watching the lights coming on for them. I mean, whether it's political or ecological, whatever it is for them, that's kind of waking them up. And so they're showing up, asking questions, looking for a place to land. And I think what's happening in these churches is giving them a lot of hope that there is life on the other side and that there is a different way of orienting. I have one other one. Is that okay? We have time for that. This is like a really interesting, fascinating, I could nerd out on this stuff all day long. We have done some work with an organization called the International Center for Religious Diplomacy. And they have been engaged globally around the world in places that civil war has broken out. And since 2016, they launched their first ever domestic program because all the signs and symptoms of civil war were emerging here in our country. And we did a little bit of work with them to help them kind of connect folks, like pastors in different communities, just for the sake of conversation and connection to, in their imagination, decrease religious violence. One of the things that they've discovered in the data in the last 6 months is that like the thing that will lead to civil war is this sort of war on masculinity. And actually like the negative or toxic narratives around masculinity in the world right now. So like to be a straight, smart, white guy, you can get really demonized and diminished in ways. And so they're seeing how the conservative church structure of like supremacy and nationalism and patriarchy almost becomes a recruitment for young men as a place that they could have vision in the world. So they have come to the PEC and said, who is talking about a positive vision for masculinity? And in a way that's rooted in flourishing and in mutuality and in embodying the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Like, who has any sort of positive imagination for masculinity right now? And I mean, I have an 11-year-old son, so I'm aware of what he takes in on the interwebs about what this means. I think a lot about how he's being formed and what he's being invited into. So we get to gather in partnership with the International Center for Religious Diplomacy, a group of folks to dream and imagine what is a positive vision for masculinity, which I perceive as the positive vision for flourishing. And that's just like one of the initiatives that feels significant of part of the sort of invitation that we get to help shape in the world, in partnership with you guys here at Watershed, truly.
So there's a lot there, a lot of richness, a lot of meaning, and hopefully you all are really excited to hear from Carrie again in a few minutes. But so thank you.
Thank you.
And just so you know, I mean, yeah, you
I'm
can
good?
say it for
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I was gonna say just so you know, I mean, you know, we've been clear from the beginning, you know, as like a staff team, like what we're doing here is not limited to Watershed. It's always been important for us to sort of tie or point to or sort of root in, you know, what Watershed is as part of something bigger. So we are just so grateful for Carrie and the rest of the PEC, you know, just to allow us to kind of lean into being part of something bigger. So I'm going to turn you back over to the band, and as I do, I just want to remind everyone that by being in this room, you consent to be filmed and recorded, and that will make sense when you hear what song they're singing.
So hi. So the main theme of this song, even though it's a little abstract, is contrast and contradiction. And through my journey of like deconstruction and reconstruction, sitting with my past constructs I've built can be a little challenging. But when I realize most is like music for me just helps me understand I'm not alone. So here we go. Lights go out and I can't be saved. Tides that I've tried to swim against brought me down upon my knees. Oh, I beg and plead, singing, come out of things unsaid. Shoot an apple off my head and trouble that can't be named. Tigers are waiting to be tamed. Confusion that never stops, closing walls and ticking clocks. Come back and take you home. I could not stop, you know now, no sin. Come out upon my seas, curse missed opportunities. Am I a part of the cure, or am I part of the disease? Singing, oh. where I wanted to. Home is where I wanted to. Home is where I wanted to.
Good morning, Watershed. It is really a delight to get to be with you all this morning. I love getting to teach here. It always stretches and challenges me, even with the topics that you're diving into and the themes you're diving into. And this week was particularly challenging to prepare for, and I'm sure I'm not the only one that has just struggled with the weight of the world around us right now. I went to a comedy show a couple weeks ago, and there were 3 different comedians. One was the guy from SNL who does Trump on SNL, and then there were like an opener and then a pre-opener, and all of them made the joke at one point of like, so we're all feeling pretty good about what's happening in the world right now. And I was like, if comedians can't even make it funny, like we're in serious trouble, right? And I just wanted to begin, if you would trust me enough, just with a moment of sort of pause and reflection to allow ourselves to fully arrive here together. So if you would feel comfortable just closing your eyes, where you are, maybe you want to plant both of your feet on the ground, if you feel comfortable doing that. If you'd like to open your palms, perhaps take a deep breath. And I just want to invite, Spirit, would you come and allow us to be aware of and attentive to your presence here in ways that feel hospitable and invitational? Would you allow us to breathe in deeply and to catch our breath, even just for a moment? Spirit, would you speak through our wise bodies and perhaps bring up the things that we've been carrying this week that we've least wanted to attend to? Perhaps what comes up for us is the ache of grief, the lightning in our veins feeling of reactivity, perhaps celebration and champagne bubbles of things that you're celebrating and holding tenderly that are good this week. Perhaps there's twinges of pain in your body that you weren't even aware of, aches that you've been carrying. I want to invite you just for a moment to check in with any fear that comes up for you. Perhaps present fear, perhaps existential fears. Where's fear in your body? Spirit, we just invite you now. Would you hold these things with us? Would you make us aware of your presence together this morning? Would you speak to us in ways that only you can? We love you and we thank you. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I want to share with you a poem. It's from a book I love right now called The Cure for Sorrow by Jan Richardson. And it's called A Book of Blessings for Times of Grief. This one is called God of the Living. When the wall between the worlds is too firm, too close, when it seems all solidity and sharp edges, when every morning you wake as if flattened against it, its forbidding presence fairly pressing the breath from you all over again. Then may you be given a glimpse of how weak the wall, and how strong what stirs on the other side, breathing with you and blessing you still, forever bound to you, but freeing you into this living, into this world so much wider than you ever knew. When David invited me to preach this morning, he shared about the series that you all are in related to what are things that you have changed your mind about. And I got really excited about this. Actually, in the moment, I started ideating with him, we could talk about systematic theology. I would love to talk about the ways I have changed my mind about sex. We could talk about ways I've changed my mind about family, which direction do you want to go and what do you think? And as the date got closer, and I just continued to watch sort of the realities of the world unfold around us, the thing that just kept coming up in me is ways that I have changed my mind about death and resurrection. And I just want to share with you just some paradigm shifts that have happened in my own sort of spiritual journey, post-deconstruction, post-death, if I'm really honest with you. I was a part of an evangelical megachurch that carried a ton of influential capacity in North America, in the world. I thought that we were doing really meaningful and expansive work in the world. I had come out of an SBC tradition, so pretty conservative in nature, and I was at this place that women and men were preaching and were elders, where we weren't just talking about compassion in the world with this superiority, white supremacist sort of white saviors, and we were talking about justice. What does it look like to empower indigenous leaders globally, and what does it look like to advocate for upstream, for changes in the systems? And so we were doing what I thought was really meaningful work in the world, and then I had an experience where we were significantly violating what we said we believed. I spoke up about that, and then I was obliterated on the other side. And I know for many of us, deconstruction can happen. Sometimes it's a thread that gets pulled, and then sort of the whole thing comes unraveled. Sometimes it's an entire shattering. And for me, it was like a shattering. It was like a death. It was people that I had done life with that were my family for 10 years, no longer talking to me anymore. The people who were in the room when my kids were born, not talking to me anymore. The organizational sort of betrayal was extensive. And it was a lot to try to pick up the pieces from. And there was a time that I really didn't want to speak the things of God anymore. I wasn't really interested in things of God or of the church. As I went on this sort of healing journey from some of the trauma that came out of that experience, loss for all of us opens up other loss that we haven't yet tended to, right? And so it was a deep, extensive journey into my attachment wounds and inner child wounds. And, I'm doing this work, and the more I'm engaging in this sort of trauma healing work and understanding neuroplasticity and just being in awe and marveling over the capacity of our bodies to heal, I kept sort of discovering this divine imprint in my own humanity. And when I couldn't speak the things of God, I would talk about the algorithm of the universe, because that was how I was experiencing the Spirit's presence in my life. And I sort of found the more I attended to and attuned to those things, the more I saw them, and eventually found myself going to seminary to try to figure out, is this way of being in the world, is this sort of spirituality and connection to the divine, does that reconcile with the ways of Jesus? I don't know that I recommend seminary as the place of deconstruction and reconstruction for all of you, but I loved it. I don't know that they would endorse me either, just in full disclosure. I think I wrote a lot of heresy, female archetypes of Christ in the Old Testament. There were lots. It was very imaginative for me, but through that journey, I was able to sort of articulate, okay, in this former model, this fear-based, shame-oriented, hell avoidance model, right? If you think about what's at the center of that sort of paradigm in the world, death falls at the center of it. It's all about what's going to happen whenever we leave this place and this place burns up, and whether you're going to be in the good place or the bad place, right? Whether there's going to be eternal damnation or eternal walking on golden streets. I'm not totally sure, but at the core of it was this idea of death. It was fear and shame. There was punishment involved in this model. And as I really began to dive into the life and teaching and ministry of Jesus. And even be attentive to like the letters throughout the New Testament about this embodiment of Jesus through the church. I found some profound insights. Actually, Jesus has a lot to say about life. I've gone back to, in the last couple weeks, this text in John 10 over and over again that just says, Christ said that we may have life and life to the full, right? And so seeing on the other side of the systems of fear and shame and death, and honestly, if we can go there, seeing sort of the death-dealing systems and structures that get created out of that paradigm, a lot of that is what we're witnessing unfold in the world around us right now. I live in the body of an Indigenous woman. I carry the wounds of my ancestors and the wounds of this land and what has taken place here and what we're watching play out. I don't know what you're connected to right now in your algorithm, if it's like what news source. I was married previously, and I was married to a man who was Gen X. I'm a millennial. I have a daughter who's Gen Z and a son who's Gen Alpha. And so it's fascinating to me to watch all the different ways that we would take in the headlines, right? From like TikTok to Instagram to YouTube short, right? Our kids are aware of what's happening in the world. And I don't know how you're taking it in right now, but I perceive what we're watching is similar to what my own death experience was. It's a collapse. It's a collapse of a worldview. We're living in this moment right now that like human evolution, I perceive is happening at rates we have never imagined before. What's taking place with AI, I don't know if you're kind of dysregulated and reactive and taking in the negative headlines, if you're watching what's unfolding in the world, this is a wild moment in time where the systems and structures that existed are crumbling. We're watching this. Francis Weller is a philosopher and psychiatrist and poet that I pay attention to, and he talks about this moment of like empire crumbling. And I don't actually want to spend my time with you calling out that old way. I think that all of us in one way or another are connected to the implications of a death-dealing system. If you're not, what's happening in Gaza right now is directly tied to the implications of a death-dealing eschatology. An evangelical way of viewing the world that has led to this moment that's been primarily funded by evangelical U.S. Christians. Like this is data that I'm sharing with you, and it's harrowing realities that we're watching, and watching people right now in this moment figure out, am I gonna stay on this train if this is at the end of the train? This is what's at the bottom of this way of being in the world. I don't know that I need to spend much time convincing you that death-dealing systems lead to death. And I would much rather spend some time imagining with you what life-giving systems could look like. What, rather than death, what resurrection-focused, liberative Christian spirituality might look like in our life. And not because I have the answers, but because for the last 10 years, I have been on a journey of just trying to come back to life on the other side of that death. And I think that what Jesus is telling us about in this John 10 life and life to the full, Jesus is actually pointing towards what it could look like to live in a different metaphysical reality than the one that many of us live plugged into, what it might look like for us to live connected or plugged into source. And I just had this conversation with my son. I realized the implications of even this sort of imaginative thought exercise can run deep, right? Because I'm not going to tell you, I don't know quite what I believe about hell and heaven. I could tell you historically what Christians have believed. I'm not quite sure what I believe about the aftermath or the afterlife, but I listen to a lot of John Polkinghorne, who is a former physicist turned theologian because of what he discovered in quantum physics and how profoundly that pointed to the Spirit of God and to the nature of God. If you're bored, I highly recommend watching him on YouTube. This is my Friday night fun. Missing out on Love Island, but I am loving John Polkinghorne right now. But my son recently had some questions about this. And actually, we're on summer hours in my house right now, which means I go to bed and my kids stay up. And I have a 16-year-old daughter and an 11-year-old son. I know all of you are navigating like wacky summer schedules right now if you have children or if you work with people that have children, because they're probably showing up kind of tired. But I find I can work a lot from like 5 a.m. to noon until they wake up, right? And then like take a lunch break and then get a little bit more done afterwards. But he came into my room a couple weeks ago at like 1 o'clock in the morning, sobbing in tears. wanting me to help answer some of life's biggest questions for him at 1 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know if you remember, the 9 to 11 age. All of us at that age were making this distinct shift from like concrete thinking to abstract thinking. You were realizing all of the comfortable little lies that your parents told you are not actually true, and the world really functions differently. Your awareness is growing, and so he climbs into my bed and he's sobbing and he's telling me Mom, I want to know, one, why is the world so hard right now? Why is it like this? And my kids are aware. We talk about these things. Why is it like this? He had all of this fear, and he's like, can't you just stand on stage and tell people? Can't you just preach about it differently? And I'm able to offer him hope that there are people doing that right now in the world. And then I mostly do the tactic that has always worked up until this age, where I just asked him a whole lot of questions, well, what do you think? And he finally stopped me and said, Mom, no, I want to know what you think, specifically about the afterlife. What is going to happen after this? And so I'm in my head is 11 big enough to talk about reincarnation and quantum physics and how many of us exist in the metaverse and time and space? How do I answer this question for him? And so we talked about if God is the creator and sustainer of all things, and God's very nature is love. Can you feel, buddy, those moments in your body when you feel like a moment is animated by love? What does that feel like for you? Tell me in your body, what does that feel like? Do you like the champagne bubbles, or the moments where your body goes and catches up, your soul catches up with your body? What are those moments that feel like they're animated by love for you? And so we start talking about those, and I'm like, I can't tell you exactly what the afterlife is going to look like. He literally asked if there would be gold streets there, my friends. But I pointed him to this vision that John has in the book of Revelation about a new heaven and a new earth, about how Christ's resurrection power unleashes some metaphysical reality that is redeeming and restoring all things, us and all of creation, back to God's original intention for flourishing and mutuality and reciprocity. And I talked about how perhaps we could make it our best efforts not to check off the list on a behavior modification, fear-based, shame-oriented, this is how you have to be and believe to be Christian, but to pursue those moments when we're animated by love. What does it look like here and now for us to live alive and be animated by love? And we talked about some of those things in our own life, and I thought, what if that's just the invitation for us this morning? Not that I have the answers for you and what that looks like in your life, but I have a couple of invitations for what it might look like for us to live alive and live animated by love rather than by fear. Do you know what that feels like in your body when you're living animated by fear? I know for me, and I've shared this before, it feels like the Hulk wants to come out of my body. And it happens more often these days than I can remember in the last 8 years. And more people that I talk to, that feels like the reality for them. There's this low, angry hum sort of everywhere. And if you're in the service industry or a pastor, you almost become like the emotional punching bag for people because you're somebody that has to take it. This is what I'm hearing from pastors, not yours, but others in the PEC. But the reality is all of us are feeling and sensing this. And in my own journey of trying to come back to life, perhaps there's just a couple keys that I could drop for you. And the first one is, what does it look like for you in your life to live connected to your vitality? I know for most of us, scrolling on our phones, no matter what we're taking in, is probably disconnecting us from our vitality, yet I do it. And I'm not demonizing that, but what could you do in your life today? It's Sunday. What could you do after this that would connect you back to your vitality? And maybe that's getting outside. We know the scientific research about green space and being near trees, or about blue space and being near water, but what could you do today or daily? What is it in your life that connects you back to your vitality? That makes you feel alive, that invites you to live in your body. And this could be getting outside. This could be taking your shoes off and walking around in the dirt. This could be actually perhaps taking a little inventory of what are the things that are keeping me from my vitality. A mentor in my life, just a couple weeks ago, we were having conversation about a relationship in my life and sort of the emotional energy that it was taking, and he said, it sounds like this relationship is a lot like CO2 in your life. He said, you know, carbon dioxide, it doesn't kill you, it's not poisonous. What it does is it blocks your cells from absorbing energy. What are the things in our lives right now that bring us alive, that connect us to our vitality? And what are those things in your life that are disconnecting you from your vitality, that are CO2 in your life, that are blocking the absorption of energy? And I realize this can be a very complicated question, right? This is complex for women. This is complex for men. This is complex for parents. It's a complicated question, but what does that look like? Is it physically taking a walk? Are there things that hinder that? What does it look like for you to be able to connect with your vitality? Perhaps it's connecting with your inner child. When I had this moment with my son that I was telling you about, I had no idea as a parent what to do, right? They don't really give you a playbook for those moments. But all I kept thinking about in that moment was, oh, I remember this feeling of despair as a kid. I remember thinking, what if one of my parents dies and I never see them again? That's his big question is, will I find you in the afterlife? This is what my 11-year-old is demanding an answer to at 1 o'clock in the morning. But I could reminisce and remember that feeling, and I thought, what did my inner child need in that moment? Right? Maybe to be held. John Polkinghorne talks about how many of us, what we need in that moment is just the reminder of this human capacity for hope, which is just, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. It's going to be okay. What does your inner child need? Are there things that you did as a kid that just brought you so much life that you cannot get over? I have a friend who's dating, and her and this man put on music and dance. And I was like, girl, do you remember when you were 11 years old and you would call the radio station and ask if you could sing on the radio station? They're like, there's something about that activity that's, what does that look like for you? Is it skateboarding? Is it coloring? Is it drawing? Is it painting? What is something that you could do practically that would connect you to your vitality? I think that's an invitation for us. If we are supposed to live life to the full, what is something that would connect us to our vitality? And then the second one is just, what would it look like for you to live with more intentionality, perhaps than you have? I don't know that we ever arrive on this topic, right? But what does it look like for you to make decisions in this moment that align your life with the kind of intentionality with which you want to live? If that's to be communal, then how are you investing resources in your community, or showing up to volunteer, or going to school board meetings to advocate for educational injustices that are happening? What does that look like for you to live with intentionality, with your money, with your time, with your resources? What does it look like to live with intentionality in the conversations you have with the people you love most? And I think this is really difficult work, to live with intentionality. But if we want to live alive and pursue life to the full, what I'm finding is the areas of my life that I really struggle with this, inviting other people into it. Inviting, as an unmarried woman, inviting other people in my life into financial decisions that I'm making, people that are helping me reckon with the decisions that I'm making and the implications of those decisions for myself, for my family, and for the world that we are co-creating. And we have made some really intentional decisions in my household that I have a 16-year-old daughter, and it drives her nuts that I really will not buy anything new. Facebook Marketplace is an excellent source, right, of reuse, reduce, recycle. We pick stuff up on the side of the road and rehab furniture, sometimes clothes if they're cute. We're really trying to reorient as a value to live in alignment with our values, and because I'm a single mom and I'm an entrepreneur and fundraising for my job. So there's lots of ways but what does it look like to live connected to our vitality and to live and make the decisions we're making with intentionality? One of these, in a really small way, is that there are things that we boycott right now as a family. There are businesses that benefit off of the war, what's happening in Israel-Palestine right now, and we have just said we're not going to spend money on those organizations right now. And this time, and I know that my $7 Starbucks bill may not change what's happening in Gaza right now, but what I know is that it changes me on the inside when I live with intentionality. When I embody what I say I believe in how I behave. And this journey has been really dynamic and complex for me, because what I have found is the more I have come home to myself, the more I have sought to live connected to that vitality, that source of life within me, the more it's connected me to the divine, the more it's connected me to one another, the more it's connected me to all things, and the more, rather than just self-validation, the more I have longed for external collaboration. Who are the people that you're making those decisions about intentionality with? Who are the people that you want to invest in meaningful conversations with in this moment that you know will add to your vitality? And then the third one that I just want to invite us to consider: vitality, intentionality, and then what would it look like for us to live with audacity in this moment? And what I mean by audacity is like the audacity to want. What does it look like to want? What does it look like for you to be connected, to tap into your own vitality? You have to have a sense of what you want or what you need, right? And I think most of us are so driven on reactivity right now, and it makes sense because there is a lot to react to, that we're not being responsive to our own needs. What would it look like for us to have the audacity to actually name and say and pursue with intentionality the things that we want in our lives, for our family, and for the world around us? What I'm finding to connect with my want, to have the audacity to live with want, what I'm finding is that I have to do a heck of a lot of grief work. Because every longing begins with an ache. It begins with some sense of ache or of loss or of space, of blankness in there. Every longing, everything you could want exists because it doesn't yet exist within you. And that means connecting to that place of grief. I have grief practices and grief rituals. I could write a book about how to tend to grief. And right now, I know you guys are Enneagram people, and I will confess, yes, I'm an Enneagram 8. I don't know if that came off. Or not. I hope to live pretty connected to my heart these days. And one of the ways that I do that is that I am not even kidding you. I cry every single day right now. And I have a hard time finding people in my life that have the capacity for my fullness, but the place that can hold my fullness is the trail behind my house. Those trees have seen tears every day for the last 2 years. And if you are living disconnected from your grief, what I'm actually finding is that it's not just grieving what I've lost. It's not just grieving the deaths in my life. When you finally get what you want, do you know what you have to do? You have to grieve every situation in your life that you didn't receive that. Your body remembers those moments. We had a national gathering of the post-evangelical collective pastors and artists and leaders in Nashville back in April, and lots of people were experiencing grief in this space. One guy came up to me at the end of day one, and he said, "Where's the breakout tomorrow for the people who don't want to be here and they don't really know why?" And I was like, "Oh, are you feeling some resistance in your body? Like, tell me about it. Let's talk." And he talked about all of the other sort of Christian conference spaces that he had been in and what they led to or what was wrong with them. And it was very real for him. I had another friend who's an artist who sat through day two, and he came up at the end and he said, I need to leave because I have this intense feeling that I need to go cry, like for hours. And he said, "I'm not sure why, because everything that happened up there was so beautiful, and I've probably longed my whole life to hear Christian leaders say the things that were said on that stage. Why do I feel this way?" And I was like, "Oh, friend, because your body remembers every single time those things should have been said of you, of your belovedness, of your belonging, and they weren't. Your body has to grieve. Like when you finally get what you want, you have to grieve all of the times and experiences and moments that those needs were not met." Living connected to our grief, having the audacity to feel the things. What I'm also finding is that I'm not even just feeling my own things or my own sort of inner child journey things. I have had things that my ancestors experienced come up and need to be grieved in and through my body, in and through my parenting to show up in the world connected to my vitality. What do you even do with that when you talk about the afterlife, right? But I know that they're present. I know that their stories live in my nervous system. And I know that if I want to heal those stories, then living connected to my body, tending to my nervous system, is part of how I heal those things in the world. And what I'm learning in this sort of world of energy and quantum physics is that when I heal those things inside of me, they get healed in the collective. Do you know this? So with Christ, talking about a metaphysical reality of pursuing life and life to the full, and we're invited to live that sort of resurrection life where we're showing up to death. We're tending to death. One of my rituals right now to tend to grief and tend to death, I know it's going to sound so silly, but I have these wildflowers that I grow every year for the last 10 years. And when I was walking through that death season and I wanted nothing to do with the things of God, I planted these seeds, these zinnia seeds in the ground, and I watched them grow, and I would sit outside by these flowers and cry and cry. I think I had like 30 years worth of tears built up when this initial death happened that I just had to cry. And then I would cut them and put them in little jars all over my house, and I would think about the tears or the prayers that were connected to those flowers, and then year after year, I would save the dead ones. And now in the spring, I pull out the ashes and I sit on my porch, and my kids say, "Oh, are you going to go be with your flower babies?" And I break up the dead parts of the flowers and I sprinkle them in the ground and I water them. And this year, I did that watching what was happening in Gaza. And if you could call it a thing, I rage gardened. That is what I did to grow these flowers. And now, right now, they sit in different parts of my house in these glass vases. And just yesterday, I pulled out all the dead ones and I broke them up and I store them away for next year. Living connected to this cycle of death and resurrection, being aware and attentive to it in my own life connects me with my vitality. Connects me with the grief, not just my own grief from my story, but the grief of what is happening in the world. Because I know if we need anything in this moment, it is people who have the audacity to have a different imagination and to want better than the present death-dealing systems and realities that exist around us. And in this moment, they are crumbling. And how we show up to this moment, it's so tempting, my friends, to show up to this moment with that same sort of reactive energy and vitriol. And do you know the DMs I want to send to my family members right now that are protecting the Epstein files? Like, this is so real in my body. But if we show up with that same energy, we're adding that death-dealing energy to the world. If I'm dehumanizing these people that are inflicting this diminishing, dehumanizing worldview and executive orders on the world, I'm adding to that. What does it look like to humanize them, to humanize myself, to attempt to live fully human in this time, in this moment when we need alive and present humans right now more than ever? And this is what Jesus shows us time and time again, is almost like this blueprint for humanity. When I tend to the pain or the wounds or the grief in my own story, when I tend to those things in the people around me, when I tend to them in the world around me, it unlocks a different sort of energy. Not poison and reactivity, but medicine and wisdom and healing. There is an invitation for us to follow in these enemy-loving ways that Jesus offers us. I sat with a mentor, Brian McLaren, recently, and he was kind of challenging some of the post-evangelical collective pastors and leaders, and he just asked this one question that I can't quite let go of on the topic. And he said, "I wonder what you guys think of, what would happen if you get what you want? What would happen if you get what you want? What would the world look like if you get what you want? What would your neighborhood look like if you get what you want? What would your relationships look like if you get what you want?" And again, that requires us to live connected to our vitality, and that will certainly require some intentionality with how we show up, and it will require a heck of a lot of audacity. But I can't let go of this question. There's a building outside of my neighborhood. My kids and I moved 2 years ago and made some really intentional decisions about what are our values and how are we going to live into them. And part of that was we're going to live in solidarity with the Black and brown people in our community. We're aware of how the city was designed and set up and who would have access and who would live in the parts that flood and who would have garages, right? You can see the lines that our cities are built according to if you pay attention. And so we moved into this neighborhood, and just across the block from us, there's this building that was once a health center for the under-resourced. It's like a clinic. You could go get government-subsidized medical treatment if you needed it, and lots of black and brown bodies, lines around the building outside to get access to healthcare in this building. And it has since been shut down, and in the last couple of months, it's actually been turned into an ICE training facility. So I live in this neighborhood where this building that was meant to be a resource to the black and brown bodies in my neighborhood is now a training ground for people to hunt them. And I asked my kids, what could you imagine that building being? What kind of imagination could we have for a life-giving space in that building? Could you imagine an art center where families get together and get to have family moments, making crafts or doing yoga together? Or what could your imagination be for that to be a redemptive space in our neighborhood? And so we have these conversations on the regular, and I think that is the invitation for us. Whatever the harrowing realities are, what does it look like for us to show up connected to our vitality with intentionality and to have some audacity to hope? MLK talks about how the moral arc of the universe bends towards justice. Jesus Christ gives us an example, a vision, a picture of what resurrection life can look like. Hope is in our favor, my friends. I don't think we need to spend time calling out and dismantling the death-dealing systems. I think the invitation is for us to inhabit and embody the life-giving systems, the life-giving reality, the alternatives. Richard Rohr loves to say the best critique of the old is the embodiment of the new, and I think that is the invitation for us. What is the alternative that we are embodying in this moment? I talked about these grief practices, and I don't want to assume that those are the same for you. Rage gardening, walking with the trees, and crying. As an Enneagram 8 who can be drawn to addictive behaviors, fasting is a significant grief ritual and practice to me. It takes me to the bottom of myself. It invites me to be face to face with my humanity. Another ceremony that we hold as a family quite often is just taking a moment to take stock and savor the glimmers. It could be really easy to name the number of times and the spaces that I got triggered this week alone, but what are the moments that I did feel my soul return to my body? What are the glimmers that we could name? For a while, we would do what we called Sunday Sunday, and we would have ice cream for dinner every Sunday, cut up fruit. Everybody would come over and engage with us, and we would talk about glimmers. For a little while, we did toasting with toast, and we would do avocado toast or Nutella toast, and we would toast those wins for the moment. Whatever that needs to look like for you, how do you hold ceremony for your vitality and intentionality and the audacity of the things that you're hoping for in the world? The story that God is writing is a story animated by love. And I think that's the invitation for us to live a life not motivated or oriented by fear, but animated and oriented to love. And I want to just close with a poem. One of my favorite poets, Padraig Ó Tuama. Poetry is like a prayer language for me right now. He calls it narrative theology number 2. I used to need to know the end of every story, but these days I only need the start to get me going. God is the crack where the story begins. We are the crack where the story gets interesting. We are the choice of where to begin, the person going out, the stranger coming in. God is the fracture and the ache in your voice. God is the story flavored with choice. God is the pillar of salt, full of pity, accusing God for the sulfurous city. God is the woman who bleeds and who touches. We are the story of courage or blushes. God is the story of whatever works. God is the twist at the end and the quirks. We are the start and we are the center. We're the characters, narrators, inventors. God is the bit that we can't explain. Maybe the healing, maybe the pain. We are the bit that God can't explain. Maybe the harmony, maybe the strain. God is the plot, and we are the writers, the story of winners and the story of fighters, the story of love and the story of rupture, the story of stories, the story without structure. May we have the audacity to let love animate our story.
Just when I thought I was with God, you came and called me by name. You show me I'm never forsaken, and I'm awake to your love in me. My protector, my helper, friend and my king, my defender, my treasure. You're my safety, all are welcome in your arms, because love is who you are. Nothing can take you away. I adore you for all that you are. I adore you. I pour out my heart. You adore me, just as I am. You are God. You are God, my ally. Will you stand with us? You stand in heaven undefeated, and yet you never leave my side. You walk with me through every season, and you're the reason I'll be alright. My protector, my helper, friend and my king, my defender, my treasure. You're my safety, all are welcome in your arms, because love is who you are. Nothing can take you away. I adore you for all that you are. I adore you. Pour out my heart. You adore me, just as I am. You are God. You are God, my ally. When the voices are rising against me, it's your name I can call along. When they say I'm not enough, it's your love that calls me home.
Voices rising against me. It's your name I can call on. When they say I'm not in your family, it's your love that calls me home. We adore you for all that you are. We adore you. We pour out our hearts. You adore us, just as you are. You are God. You are God. Adore you. All that you are. We adore you. Pour out our hearts. You adore us, just as we are. You are God. You are God, our ally.
Thank you guys, you're amazing. Thank you for coming up. Does the pastor need to say anything, or we're rocking and roll? Do we have a
We
release?
didn't really talk about this part.
Did we talk about this before? Well, you're amazing. I'm glad everyone came to Sunday morning today. Welcome to Watershed. I'll be your host this evening. So, yeah. Rock on. Go forth and prosper.